Hey guys, welcome back. Today on The Untidy Artist, we're making a desert terrarium. A terrarium is basically an indoor garden in a glass container. By placing the plants in the glass, these miniature little gardens create their own ecosystem. There are different types of terrariums that you can make, and today I'll be showing you how to make one that uses cactuses and succulents. They're very low maintenance and perfect for someone that doesn't have a green thumb like me. Let's grab some supplies and get started. The first thing you'll need is a glass container. Mine measures 8 inches tall by 7 inches around in diameter. Next, you'll need some small rocks or aquarium gravel. I found mine at my local gardening store. You can also check pet stores for aquarium gravel. Then you'll need some activated charcoal or activated carbon. This is actually charcoal that has been heated at a very high temperature, which makes it become very absorbent, and it's going to help to keep our terrarium very fresh and clean smelling. You can find activated carbon at specialty gardening centers, or I found mine at the pet store. You'll need some potting soil. You'll want to make sure that you get some that's especially for cactuses and succulents. This drains really well, and it's the best thing to plant your cactus and succulent desert garden in. Then you'll need some plants. This is the fun part. I found mine at the local hardware store, and there was a nice variety in their gardening center. These are just different types of succulents and cactuses. You want to make sure when you're reading the sides of the containers that they all need the same light and water requirements. You want to make sure all the plants in your terrarium have the same needs. Then you'll need some things to decorate your terrarium with. This is just some fun colored sand that I found. I also found this really pretty crushed glass that I'll be sprinkling along the top of the terrarium. All right, let's get started. The first step is to line the bottom of your glass container with your gravel. Now, work slowly as you put them in. You need about 1 inch to 2 inches of gravel at the bottom of your glass container. And be careful as you're putting them in. You don't want to break the glass, so do it gently. And make sure that they're in a nice, even, smooth layer. And so when you look at the side of the glass, it should come up 1 to 2 inches. The next step is to put in a nice, even layer of our charcoal. So using a spoon, just evenly sprinkle a layer of the charcoal over your rocks. It's good to make sure that your rocks aren't so big that the charcoal falls right to the bottom. That's why I like using the smaller rocks. And just get a nice, even layer over the top of the rocks, and this is going to help to filter the water and keep our terrarium nice and fresh and clean smelling. Now, once you've put the charcoal in, it's time to add your soil. Now you want to add enough soil to be able to cover the roots. So a good rule of thumb is to look at the size of the containers of the plants that you got, and that's kind of what I use to gauge the amount of dirt that I'll need, because obviously you want enough space for the roots to be able to grow. So I just work slowly and put the dirt in, and then I kind of take a look at it and see if it's enough, and if not, I keep adding a little bit more. You'll have several inches of the dirt in your terrarium. So you can see the different layers as you hold it up to the side. We have our gravel at the bottom, then our charcoal, and then our soil. Okay, now it's time to start adding our plants. So decide which plant you want to be your main focal point, and then you're going to slide them out of their containers gently and gently kind of pull apart the roots and loosen up some of the soil that came with the plant. So we're just kind of loosening up those roots there and getting rid of some of that soil that was already in the pot with it. And then to plant your plants, you can either, I'm just using my fingers, but you can also use a spoon, or some people even use tongs or chopsticks, and you just make a little indentation in the dirt and then add your plant in. And make sure that the dirt is nicely packed around it. And then I'd like to decide ahead of time how to put my plants in. This one was a little spiky and definitely poked me a few times. But you want to kind of decide how you want to arrange your plants ahead of time so that when you go to put them in, you have a good idea of where you're going to place them in your terrarium. You can see I'm just loosening up the dirt on this one also. And I'm going to place it in behind the succulent I put in. When you're planning out where to put your plants, kind of keep in mind the heights of the different plants and which side will be the front of your terrarium. And you can see I'm just kind of using a spoon to get into those hard to reach places. And this is what it looks like so far. Now, this next one, you'll notice some of the succulents actually break apart and you can get more than one plant out of each one. So you can see this one, the roots just gently came apart there, and I was able to use this succulent in a couple different spots in my terrarium. Or you can even use them in another terrarium. So I just ended up using a small piece of this plant. I liked that little burst of green color to the side there. And once you have all of your plants planted, it's time to add our sand. So I found the easiest way to add the sand was to use a funnel and a spoon. So I'm just using the funnel to get down exactly where I want the sand to go, and then I just pour the sand through the funnel, and it allows me to get the sand really in those hard to reach tight places. And work slowly, you don't want to end up getting sand all over your plants. And just get a nice even layer of the sand around all of your plants. And I use my spoon and even a little paintbrush to kind of smooth everything out and make sure that everything's nicely covered and nice and even. Then I grab my spoon and my little glass pieces, and I'm just going to sprinkle them in a few different places to add a few highlights in my terrarium. And this really is the fun part. It really starts to look like its own miniature little garden. And it's crazy how just professional and beautiful these turn out. This is the fun part where you really get to be creative and you can really do anything you'd like. In fact, if you just want to put rocks on the top, you can. And then the last thing that I'm going to do is add this cute little shell that my mom gave me, a little sentimental piece, into my little terrarium to make it more personalized and just its own little unique garden. That's it, guys, you're all set. These are so fun to make. You can do them in small containers, big containers, and because they're cactuses, they're very easy to upkeep. You just water them every couple weeks. You don't want to overwater them, and make sure you don't put them in direct sunlight. Thank you so much for watching. If you liked this tutorial, please give it a thumbs up. If you have any comments or questions, please post those below. And if you haven't already subscribed, please do. That would be amazing, and we'll see you next time. Thanks.